I'm calling this meeting to order. I've got 11:31. We'll begin with our invocation and pledges.
Yes, sir. I'd like to invite Mr. Roger Campos, who's our Director of Communications. He's going to lead us in our invocations, followed by the Pledge of Allegiances.
Before we start the invocation, I just want to recognize that Veterans Day is coming up on Thursday, November the 11th. Veterans Day is a time for us to pay our respects to those who have served. For one day, we stand united in respect to you, our veterans. We encourage everyone to recognize the valor and courage and sacrifice of our veterans through appropriate ceremonies and private prayers. Locally at Southwest ISD, we look forward to recognizing our veterans at ceremonies across the district. And at this time, we will bow our heads and we'll start the invocation. Lord, we're meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts, our minds, in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being the source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Campos, and I would like to add on to what Mr. Campos said. I know that the vast majority of our dice up here are veterans, so I want to just say on behalf of our district and our community, thank you for your service and everything that you guys have done to make us a safer country and a free country. So thank you again.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Lord. Okay, public comments related to board agenda items. Mr. Rodriguez, Mona, do we have any? No? Items of information. We'll begin with A, presentation on district health insurance plans.
Yes, sir. We do have Miss Frances Parsons, I believe, who's going to introduce her staff, and I know we have Miss Levery, who's been in that world her whole career and who we really rely on. And so I think we're going to hear from Will Baker and Mary Levery, but right now I'll turn it over to Miss Parsons.
This is actually a combined thing because this is something that's going to affect every district employee that we have. And so between Brandon and myself and Will Baker and Mary Levery, we're coming here with an item of information just to make sure you're aware of the changes for Senate Bill 1444. And this will be the first time that you hear of this, and then we will bring it back to the board for action in December.
Yeah, and so I'll let Will go through it, and then we kind of talk about the options at the end and where we're kind of, you can see what we actually give our employees at this point and see the differences, and then possibly some things that we can do in the spring depending on which direction we go. So I'm going to let Will talk about the actual new bill and the things that we're going to have to make a decision on, and then Mary Levery will kind of talk about and show you, or you have it in front of you, the different rates that we have with our alternative plans. Just to piggyback up on that, we know about a year or two ago, we really needed to do something different because the rates with TRS were skyrocketing. And a lot of districts who were District of Innovation were able to offer an alternate plan, which provided choice to our employees to look at different options for us to be competitive so that employees can have more than one choice. And Will's going to talk about how that's going to change and how that's going to impact us. And so I'll let Mr. Baker go ahead.
Mr. Board President, board members, thank you for giving me this time. Senate Bill 1444 was passed the last legislative session. Basically, it is taking away our ability to offer the choice Mr. Chris was talking about. We either have to choose to remain in TRS active care solely and only offer TRS active care, or we can indicate to TRS that we no longer want to be part of that program and then offer an alternative group plan like the Humana plan that we currently offer as a choice to employees right now. So we are no longer allowed to have that practice where we do TRS for some folks and the alternative plan for the other folks. So we have to make this decision by December 31st, whether if we decide to stay with TRS, there's no action we need to take. We'll just remain on TRS, but we'll have to stop offering the alternative health plan. If we decide, no, we're going to get out of TRS, we're going to go and offer an alternative health plan, we do have to have a board resolution that we would send a copy of to TRS, and we need to do that by December 31st. So if we leave TRS active care next year, we would have to stay out of it for 5 years. So we can't go back to it in a year or so. So if we make the choice to offer the alternative plan, you should realize that's a consequence of leaving the plan. We can if we stay in TRS though, we can decide every year whether we want to leave it. But once you leave, you're out for 5 years, is the simple rule. I don't know if Mary wants to talk about this specifically, but currently, this is what we have as far as our employees. We have about 1,000 employees that have gone with the Humana plan. And you can see kind of the breakdown of how many are employee only, how many are employee spouse, how many do employee child, and how many do employee family. And then you can see we have still about 500 employees, a little more than 500 employees that have remained with TRS active care. And those are the kind of the statistics as we have. Do you have any questions about that? Or what you're seeing up there in that chart?
I think the dollar amount, anyone references the dollar amount after the district contribution? Well, just so that you all know that we give every employee that takes the option of having insurance with us, we offer them $375 a month towards that. And so that roughly gets about $4,500 an employee if they're using our insurance, which is roughly about $6 million to the budget. And so that's a key to help us keep our prices down. What we started to notice with TRS is that TRS, even when we were doing contribution, we had to keep changing it to like just give some relief to employees. And you can notice if you go across the board, I think there's only one rate, employee spouse gold, that's actually looks higher than the TRS rates. The group that we use, which was Barrett Insurance, they've been very aggressive with Humana, and we get to sit down with them and look at our rates and make them go back. With that, we can't do that with TRS. TRS basically sets the rates for the whole state, and we really have no negotiating power. What we could do, based on if we stay with TRS, it's the simple way. If we stay with TRS, the employees fulfill the brunt of whatever rates we get from TRS. If we decide to move away from TRS, we can stay with Humana as long as we can make sure that Humana is able to provide these rates that we currently have, and they don't give us a 15% jump. So that's important. But how do we do that? Is we can bid it out ourselves. Through Barrett Insurance, we can have Barrett Insurance go to Aetna, go to Blue Cross Blue Shield,
That's the
go
point.
to Humana, and do our own. Because we'll use our claims data. At the end of the day, we use claims data that set these rates. They're going to get our claims data. They're going to look at our rates, all these providers, and they're going to say, well, your claims data is not very good, and these are going to be your rates. The thing about TRS is they're looking at the claims data of the whole state, that everybody's in it. And so whether our claims data is good or bad, it doesn't really matter. It depends on these bigger districts, the whole group. And the idea was that the pool would make the rates go down because you have all these people involved, but it's gone the other way around on us. And so the idea now is to really think about where we want to go as a district. We plan on trying to bring a recommendation to y'all. The options are really this: stay with TRS, stay the course. We can't offer an optional plan if we stay with TRS, or we go out on our own, use our current Barrett Insurance, who's our agent that helps us with the choices, and either in the spring, go to Humana and say, well, what is it going to look like for us next year? Or we go out for bid and go against the market and be competitive. So that's really the choices that we have on our table. Before we say this, the other thing that we looked at, I know there was board members that went to TASB and they saw some districts aren't paying co-pays and some districts don't have deductibles. And that's easy to do in like small towns, but it's not something that we can't do. We can't do that with TRS. TRS is basically they negotiate with the different providers and they're gonna get their rate set by the doctors. But we're able to use Humana and Barrett Insurance on our own because we're using our own claims data, but possibly partnering with clinics around San Antonio, saying, hey, if we send you our employees, will you give them a no copay? We would be able to do that because we would be working hand in hand with our agent. And that's a possibility if we actually decided to stay out of TRS and go with doing it ourselves. What we kind of want to stay away from is the self-funded plan. Some districts are doing self-funded. I don't know if we're really there yet. It could be an expensive burden. But even if we broke away and doing our, with Merit Insurance, we would have an agent that would go out and competitively help us procure better rates and then work in those deals if we can get clinics set up so that employees can go to clinics where they can do their day-to-day stuff, their basic physicals, and have no copay. I don't want to promise that right now because we'd have to work through that. Depending on what we want to do, I can't turn them loose until we make a decision. Yeah, it's not.
I have one question, or I guess a concern. So we know we have till December 31st to make a decision, and Humana knows that as well. So how do we make sure or guarantee that all these private insurers, once they know we're locked in for 5 years, that their rates are not going to jump up, just all of them, right?
Yes.
Because they know that now we don't have that TRS option.
So that's, and the way that we can do that, just like we would do that with any other part of our business, is we'd have to go out for procurement, we would bid it out, we put all the different, and I can't tell you that based on, we'd have to get our claims data. Because really, that's all it's gonna boil down to, what were our claims in 2021, 22? And they're gonna start seeing our claims data and say, you guys, these are your rates, and I'm pretty sure if we put it out there for all the different providers,
Yeah,
they're still gonna compete for our business because they still want it.
Yeah.
And they're out there now knowing that a lot of districts are probably breaking away from TRS.
Right.
So hopefully they're gonna be competitive for us.
right.
But there is no guarantee. We could do it a bunch of different ways. We could bid it out and then ask them to give us 2 years of lock-in.
Right, that would be,
We could do that. The TRS doesn't do that because TRS has to redo it every
Right.
year because it's a business and they don't wanna lose.
and could we conceivably do that before that December 31st deadline, where we get some
Well-
guarantees, I guess?
I think what we're in right now is good through the year,
Correct.
through the school year. So it wouldn't be the decision we make now, but it gives us till the following school year to get all that done.
Yeah, so
We're
that-
basically opting in.
Everything's
or
staying
opting out.
as is through the end of the school
Right,
year.
right.
So
Okay,
we said
So-
through August 31st, whatever employee has right now will last.
Right,
But going into to spring enrollment to start the next school year, right, Mary? We would have to either be in TRS all the way,
Right.
or we're out on our own doing either Humana, or we decide to bid it out. The idea is, if we left TRS, we would try to work with Humana first, because we have 1,000 employees in Humana.
right,
And so we don't want to be switching providers every year, because that's a burden on employees. But at
absolutely.
the same time, employees want good rates too, so it's a give and take. So our first plan of action would be work with Humana, look at our claims data, see what rates might possibly be, and if they're gonna skyrocket, maybe we need to go on the market. But it's really timing, claims data,
Right.
getting with the people and understanding. But our first step is to decide what we're going to do.
Sure,
It's just like anything as far as the healthcare, it's only goes up.
right.
It's just minimizing the impact of it.
But we do have the possibility of locking in
For 2
good
years,
rates
yeah.
for at
Correct.
least
We
a
could-
couple
we
of
could-
years.
We could do an RFP, and we want rates for the next 2 years.
Yeah,
And hopefully it would be a provider that would say we would do that.
yes,
But I
okay,
can't guarantee it, because if we have one bad year of claims data, they might say, hey, no, we can't, you guys are just too expensive, and these rates aren't gonna work. Because that's what happens. It's like-
right.
That's what they're looking at.
But they're gonna look at our historical data,
That's the case.
Right. so it could be an anomaly, it could be a
Correct.
one-time thing, and,
Yes. And, you know, in the times
So
we're in,
Michael-
during COVID, if we have any extreme cases, things
Yeah.
that are going on, that could drive rates up. But luckily, if we break away and run our own, we're collectively using our own claims data versus using the
Right.
state of Texas's claims data.
okay,
And so we're gonna bring a recommendation, by December. I will say that we won't have TRS rates for next year, and we won't have Humana rates for next year. We really don't get that until springtime,
okay,
because that's when they start looking at our claims data.
right,
So we're almost going into it, but I can just tell you, based on TRS, you can see the difference, what we were able to
Yeah.
do offering,
And,
you know.
and they're actually, like you said, they really climbed for a while.
Yes.
And now that they know they're having competition, that they're trying to stabilize and
I
keep-
find that employee spouse one really,
But-
like, wow, that's a big
But the
difference.
bottom line, I think, is just having that ability to have that option,
Correct.
and having the ability to negotiate.
And-
And with TRS, we haven't, I've been anti-TRS since we made this decision. I think I was the only one that spoke against that. I said, well, we're gonna be locked in forever, which is what it was. What was that, 15 years ago.
So I remember when we went to TRS, because the market had gotten so volatile at that point
Yeah.
in time, and where
At that
TRS
time,
was
it was
increasing
good, but-
9% a year, the market outside was increasing 30+% a year.
Yeah, but-
That's all calmed down now?
But the thing is that we locked in the TRS for life at that time.
Yes, at that
Yeah.
time, every district who
Yeah.
went to TRS was. I can tell you, it's always been the intent of this school district to make sure that we can offer a employee-only plan at $0 to our employees. And you can see what that looks like in the top left corner between TRS
getting close.
and the other. Your contribution, your health contribution in Southwest ISD, I'm going to tell you, is in the top tier of contributions that we see of other districts. And so the only way to achieve that, I think the writing's on the wall.
Right.
If we look at the recommendation, we're going to jump back into this market. It's a burden, but it's a burden on behalf of the benefit of our employees. And so we will bring that information to you guys, but yeah, that's where we are today. I love the idea that there is a possibility to offer no co-pays to some of our employees at different parts of our plan, and we're going to explore that.
So does that mean that when we go into contract negotiations for like Humana or Aetna or something like that, when do those contracts come into play? Like, when do we start going to that? Is that going to be a yearly basis, or are we going to try to lock
It could
in?
be a yearly basis, or we could try to lock in
Yeah.
For 2
multiple
years.
years. You know, you gotta remember, we're gonna be I'm not saying we're a small district versus like these huge corporations like Humana. And so they're gonna look at their bottom lines, and really, we can't tell you that till we look at our claims data. So that's what they're gonna study. And if we have claims data for like multiple years that are in trends at a certain percentage, maybe that's something they look at. Say, we'll set a rate at this, and maybe it's a 2% increase over the next 2 years because your trend data says that. So that's what it's really gonna be able to look at and see. We haven't really done that before because we had TRS. TRS did that, we didn't even see our claims data. It's hard to get it from. But when you're dealing with an agent,
Yeah.
that's what they're using to say, hey, let's try to put it in the market. We'll use their recommendations too. But the other piece to that is you have to weigh, we're about to move somebody's cheese because we're about to tell, either way, we're gonna have somebody change their provider, which is really never a good thing because people, you have their doctors and then also they change insurance and they can't go to that doctor anymore. But we like the idea of having choice. That was the whole idea about it. So like, if you want to change, you can change. You got better rates. You want to stay with your doctor, stay with TRS. But we're being forced now. It's not. We don't have that option. So that's the difference now.
Is there any way to get like data from our employees to figure out what kind of services are being held to a good standard, to make sure that Humana is doing their due diligence of a commitment to their services to us?
Correct. And I know that, I don't know, Will, you want to talk about it next
Yeah,
slide?
we have put out a survey already, and we're already we've gotten about 450 responses already, almost 300 from teachers and other employees, and they're giving us, they're telling us basically what kind of coverage they have now, what are their experience. We have an open-ended question on there, tell us about your experiences with the health insurance. Right now, from what I see, I looked at it this morning, it looks like most folks would rather us go with Humana. What we're seeing, there's some that are asking to stay with TRS. All the main concern I'm seeing are the rates on the employee family, the employee, those who have covered their spouse and their children. They're really concerned about their rates in those areas. So we might want to look at that if we go to where we're negotiating with another company and look at those rates. But that's what we're seeing so far.
And then the data and the trends, because of COVID, I mean, those trends are going to be higher basically in these past 2 years. So are we going to try to make sure that kind of stays out of play, so that way they don't come after, you had a high, but everybody had a high.
Well, I think that's the thing. Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's what we're playing with here. I'm going to sit here and tell you our rates are going to go up probably no matter what. It's minimizing the impact of that, who we can work with, that's going to. So the way that you counter that is you make them competitive. So like, okay, well, we got Humana, we got Aetna, we got Blue Cross Blue Shield bidding on a actual RFP, bidding for our business. Maybe they're going to look at our claims data and try to figure out a way to keep rates down because they want our business. With TRS, you've got our claims data and it's across the board. We don't get to negotiate it. We don't get to bid it out. So that's our strategy that we would use to try to keep rates down. If we feel like they're going to explode, let's say United comes in and said, y'all are going to get a 15% increase because your claims data. we probably want to put it out on the market and see what we can do to make them competitive at that point. But I would say, it's traditional, it hasn't not gone down. We usually go, like, every year it increases, and because of COVID, there's gonna be an expectation, and the way we can help is maybe Dr. D talked about contribution more from the district, but also providing different options. Like you can see with Humana, we have different options that you can choose. Some people have to take lower deductible type plans or higher deductible type plans. So yeah, there's not a whole lot we can do to stop rates from increasing, but there is some strategies that if we were on our own, we create our own clinics, because that's all claims data. If we get a place where we work with clinics and set good rates with that clinic, and we ask people to go there instead of going to another doctor that's going to charge their insurance more, those are the type of strategies that we can implement to hopefully keep our claims data down and keep people healthy. That's working with our agent, working with Humana, creating those clinics that people can go to that have no deductible, but at the same time, we've negotiated prices with doctors instead of them going to any doctor and getting charged out of network and getting charged more, they charge our insurance more, which would drive up our claims. So there's some strategies that help with that. We just would need to make a decision on which way we're going to go and try to do that.
I think we're going to have to really become really active in our health insurance. Let's just start off, health insurance baseline, it's bad everywhere. And it's, it's pick the best bad kind of pathway forward. One's going to allow us some creativity and some flexibility to do more things, and so we're going to have to be creative. But so is every person who utilizes health insurance, about being creative and more involved in the process about how we can keep rates lower. There are opportunities, but we're going to have to create those opportunities.
And is there, I don't know how to say this, but is there any way to where, like, funding, because we know how we put $6 million into this fund. Is there any way with, like, government funding coming in from SLR or SLR funds, can we put some money into that so that way it minimizes our cost for the insurance?
Well, ESSER grants are supply, you can supply them anywhere.
Because of COVID, like
Right.
that's the only reason why I would like, okay, because it's a COVID fluctuating the rise of it, this could be something that could be, help us in doing
You
that.
can, the only thing I would say about that, at some point, if you're helping out employees with financially in their paycheck, it's hard to take it back when those funds run out. So when you start getting raises out of ESSER, you start paying for insurance, and all of a sudden you don't have that money, you tell them 3 years from now that I can't. And because 3 years from now, cost of living is still gonna get higher. So I would only warn us from doing that because, we can find other ways to help financially for the district, but when you start talking about raises and compensation with ESSER funds, then 3 years from now, we don't have any more. What are we gonna have in place to make up that revenue? That's the problem, right? That's the same thing with staffing, right? It's like, you can add a bunch of staff, but at some point, we have to take on that burden. So we gotta be very careful of that because there could be a fiscal cliff at the end.
Right.
So our idea is to get competitive with, just like anything else that we try to purchase, we make people bid against it. And that could be an option if we decide to do it.
So this was our item of information.
Thank you.
And, we will be collecting more data. We'll send out the survey again to try to get more of our staff involved in just making sure they're notified that this is happening, that the law came out, and that we really want them to participate in helping us make a decision. And we will bring that to ground back into council.
Yeah, we offer it, but nobody, it's really expensive or both. So if we really target the areas where we see most of the employees. So if you notice, you'll see certain pockets, and so that's where, we want to take care of every employee, but it's really like, especially our support staff. You'll notice the employee, like under the bronze plan, which is most,
Expensive.
it's the least expensive for the plan that they're getting. So we really try to target those individuals saying, you really should look at this bronze plan because we have co-pays, it's not that high deductible plan. So you'll see 651 out of the whole 1,000 that are in Humana are on that bronze plan. That's giving literature to the employees so that they understand what they're actually getting for their money.
Thank you very much. Okay. And actually, that was really presented well. Thank you all. Mary, you did a great job. But I tell you what, if we go away from TRS, we're gonna have to get her some help.
Yes, I just wrote it down.
Okay, before we go to the next item, both Lloyd and I forgot something, and I guess board members are not really hungry, but we're gonna take a recess, go get our plates, and come back, okay? We'll call this meeting back into order at 12:08. I believe we have a construction update.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Brandon Chris, and I want to thank the folks who covered the insurance. Y'all did a tremendous job. We'll be bringing that back in December, and Brandon, Raphael, and Thomas have been very diligent in really identifying some projects and identifying some funds for some projects from our bond, from our ESSER, from our fund balance. And so Brandon is going to, and his team are going to take us through an opportunity to look at some things that we have on the horizon. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to start off by saying, you know, we've gone through a pretty comprehensive 2 years up to this point with all our bond projects. We're pretty excited that all of our bond projects are either almost complete, in the middle of it, with our last one being the transportation department, which is kicked off as well. So in 2018, we did the bond sale, and we moved pretty diligently. There is a bright spot because of COVID. We got into the market early. We were very competitive, and so today we're going to talk about possibilities because we do have leftover funds. As we've been updating y'all on our bond projects, there's some projects that came in under budget, and we're able to put some money back towards into the bond funds to use later on. We're going to talk about that and some possibilities. We did put some projects in ESSER. So we have ESSER 2, ESSER 3, really to look at old HVAC systems, places where we need to upgrade in HVACs. Also look at just different things that we can put in our schools to maybe upgrade furniture, equipment, playground areas, and Raphael and Thompson talk about that. And then we have some things that are just popping up that are fund balance items that we need to take a look at and possibly put on. And so the idea is for the board to understand that we have 3 buckets of funds right now to use on some of these projects. The thing about capital projects, and the reason why we put them in bonds, because we go out, we take on that debt, it's a long-term debt, but when we use these funds, it makes an impact on the district and they're long-lasting, so that's the idea behind it. And so I'm going to turn it over to, I'll talk about the first one. So ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, we had a committee come together, different groups meet, and we brought to the board for approval ESSER 3 back in early June, and then ESSER 2 was in August, Francis. And we actually are going to have another meeting coming up at the board meeting, a public hearing, and talk about amendments to that. But in that, those planning phases, we brought to the board to approve a couple of things. The first one was looking at HVAC systems, and this was already board approved, this first one. Y'all approved last month. We wanted to put it on there just so you know that we still have things going on. But other 4 items that were approved in the ESSER funding was Tranquility Rooms. And this is basically creating a space through furniture or whatever it is in campuses to create a kind of SEO scenarios type area. The other is collaborative furniture. It says elementary only, but the ESSER is a little flexible in that. But we're really looking at places in our schools that we can create a collaborative environment. Right now, I know working with CNI, the idea might be libraries. And so we're looking at that and doing a study. Raphael's kind of running with that. And then I got Thomas, he's working on upgrading our playgrounds as far as every elementary that doesn't have a canopy, getting a canopy over the playground. And then right now, we currently mulch all our playgrounds. When we have fresh mulch down, it's really good, but then it's like keeping up with it, and ants and just debris and storms come in. It causes issues, so we're looking at a long-term fix to that in ESSER, you put in there, to create a surface that you'll see at some of the city parks where it's more of like a grass or artificial turf or like a rubber type area. So those are what we're looking at doing. So right now in ESSER, we have approved about 3.1, and we're working on getting quotes and getting these things set up. So we'll be bringing these each one as we finalize these items. And so questions about the ESSER plans as far as capital projects. And then I'm going to turn it over to Thomas.
One of the items on there, we have bid out to 3 playground installers already. We we basically took them over to Southwest Elementary and said, look, we're looking at putting up this kind of canopy, this exact canopy, and surfacing this specific size. We gave them a count, so everybody was bidding apples to apples, and it wasn't their opinion versus somebody else's opinion. So once we did that, we have a number. Park Place came in, Park Place Miracle came in as the low on that. However, their bid was for 11-inch elementaries at the same size. They're not all the same size. There are some that are somewhat smaller. So right now, we've released that gentleman to go around and take sizes on everything and give us the actual true number. So we did bid it out, apples to apples, to get the person we needed to work with. So now we're working with getting that scope tightened up and make sure that we're only paying for the amount that we need to pay for. We did, as Mr. Crisp said, ask for the surfacing, which was the poured-in-place rubber and also the synthetic turf surfacing. The synthetic turf came back at about $400,000, give or take a little bit cheaper overall. So our recommendation is going to be that it's synthetic turf, but when we bring that back, we will bring that back as an item to the board.
What was the difference between that and the rubber?
Price-wise, it was about $400,000.
So it would double
No, it was $400,000 over the whole, all 11 elementaries.
the
So
turf?
More.
The
The
turf.
turf.
The
And
turf
what
is
was,
cheaper.
yeah, what was, how much was the other?
I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I just know that to go, the synthetic turf was here and then $400,000 more to go to the
So-
poured-in-place rubber.
The synthetic turf is about 1.5, and so it was almost 1.9 to put the rubbers.
So, and then what we found also,
Oh, I see.
doing a little bit of research there, because we have some 12-foot slides at about 8 of our elementaries, that is the top fall area that you have. And with the poured-in-place rubber, we weren't really gonna be able to get to the compression.
The cushion.
The cushion underneath wasn't gonna suffice for that 12-foot.
So
fall.
this is actually gonna be softer?
It will be better on the fall, yes.
Okay, okay, I didn't know that.
It just depends on the, yeah, I mean, they give you data either way, depends on, it's which way you were looking at it, they'll give you the one you wanna see, but yes, the grass should be a cooler, because you can put the cork in. Yeah.
And does this include like schools that have two playgrounds, like a big playground and a tiny
This
play?
only includes, this is not including any of the PCI playgrounds, this only includes the one that the district provides. So it's for the K through 5, not for the pre-K. The pre-K one, PCI still has, and the other organization with the Santa Head Start, yeah. They provide the mulch and keep that thing up and going, so we're not actually funding that portion of it.
And maybe if they see that we do ours, maybe they'll give us funding to do the rest of it. I mean, we can discuss it with them too.
Does the canopies become an insurable item
Yes,
if
sir.
something becomes like wind, damage, storm damage?
We've lost Southwest Elementary's canopy in 2013, and it was covered under insurance, and we were able to replace it.
Good.
We just need to make sure we put them on our insurance survey. So the next item would be, under the fund balance funding part, there are multiple items here, retrofit of the gym lighting that we don't have LED in. There's maybe two, maybe just only McNair and another gym at Southwest High School, and a gym at Building 800 Castem that needs to go to the LED lighting. The second item, the exterior of Southwest High School has some big HID floodlights that are around the building that kind of give off the green tint. We would need to put those towards LED. You can see the purchases there, or the price there. Wrought iron fencing, this is one of the items that we have talked about previously in building subcommittee and at the board meeting. We're looking right now, we're getting ready to put out a project for Scobie, Big Country, Freewald, Elm Creek Elementary, and McNair. So to get those campuses covered with the black wrought iron fence like we're doing around the district.
Can I say something real quick? And I apologize because I should have said at the beginning. These are projects that we're targeting for 21, 22, but we're gonna bring back the next round bag, because that doesn't cover everything, but create a plan that's more of a 5 to 7. So stuff like wrought iron fence, we're just not picking one area and that's all we're gonna do. We actually wanna have another plan next year, add more, and add more. Just kinda like we did with our graphics. Create a plan and we put graphics in every school, but we had to do it over time. And so there's more to this. This also has, when we get into the round that, we're gonna talk about future bond projects, and so we're gonna kind of bring you more of a comprehensive. But right now, we're ready to bring more of like, what can we do now? Because we're under Probably no more, I can't think of a time since I've been here where we gotta move pretty fast if we wanna do anything. The longer we wait and to get out in the market, because we wanna say we did this stuff in the summer, we might not even get to the summer if we don't move pretty quickly. So we took that and said, we probably need to get in front of the board, get approval for y'all to let us move forward on some of these things so that we can start getting bids and getting people lined up to do this work. Because the longer we wait, get into the spring, it's a competitive world, and right now, with materials and labor shortages, it could be, we don't want to be a year from now and we haven't done anything, especially the needed items.
Brandon, but all of these that you're telling us about we'll be able to handle them with the leftover funds, or you're talking about?
So this particular slide, that first slide was extra two,
Oh,
extra three.
okay.
This slide will be fund balance items. So anything on here, a lot of these are some things that we need to do, and some of these are just because it's part of our plan to beautify, like, example of our fence, it's a beautification process across the district. But the other two is, to kind of update lighting. We're trying to get lighting updated of LEDs because we know that it's better, as far as people out at night, but it's also an item that helps us save utilities. So we're looking at that type of aspect too.
For like the arch lights, would that be the one that like Legacy with the?
Correct.
on the back of it?
Correct.
And item number 4, if the need arises, we have this plan to move portables to Southwest Legacy High School, essentially 4 to 6 portables, moving them over there. And this also includes the utility budget to get fire alarm, PA, and anything else that we need out to those, electricity out to those portables, in the case that they're needed.
And they have requested them because they have about 13 teachers that are holding at this point. We're going to do a walk and a study and kind of look at spaces, but it's almost inevitable as Legacy continues to grow that we're going to need more instructional spaces for teachers.
And the portables we're moving are from all over the schools, the different areas?
We had them at Scobie. We have some at Scobie, then we moved to the central office here, and then we have some in the Colo. So we're going to try to make sure whatever the best ones we have to move them over. And depending on the demand and getting with people and deciding what we're going to move over. The idea is now is where we're going to put them.
And does that mean that later you're gonna come with a renovation
Yes,
project?
that would be part of our bond projects that we look at expanding.
That back road,
Demographic study, we will have to expand.
that back road where the buses go, is that where y'all looking?
Yeah, and it's like the best area.
It's like the flattest.
Because, yeah, it's the flattest area, and then, because, you know, you have the side where, where Cass used to be, but on that side, but that's probably where we can expand. So you don't want to put portables where you're gonna actually maybe do innovation in, so, yeah, it'll be a burden, because portables always are, because people having to walk out there in bad weather across roads, but we're not going to
So the next, probably 5, 6, 7, 8, we have pictures that will be, I'm going to flip back and forth here. But the next one is the drainage project at South Sun Valley Elementary School. I don't know if you all remember or recall, we did it. We've been trying to do some work, not spend a whole lot of money trying to get the soils at Sun Valley are horrible. We continue to have, the building stays in place, everything around the building continues to move and shift and shake. So this project, we would like to bring in civil engineer and have them, we're talking about like in the blacktop area that you see on that picture on the left, taking all of that out, digging down several feet, taking all that clay soil out, rebuilding it with compacted base, and then putting a new blacktop surface on it at a lower level to where the water will drain away from the building. We are having issues, and I believe there are places where in the front of the building, picture on the right, when the rain hits, and it rains like 6 inches in an hour, those things have all kind of they're backflowing towards the building. So what happens is the water fills up on the outside, and then you see the weep holes along the bottom of the brick there. That fills up with water, the water comes back. So there's little weep holes, there's little holes right here all along the bottom. So all of these are kind of forcing, the water comes out the downspout, you can see where the dirt has kind of rose, and as you look down, they're higher on this end than they are on the building side. So it's backfilling or backflowing water to the building. What we're getting then is a backfeed of water through those weep holes into the school, and it's not a horrible amount of water, but it's a nuisance.
Is it causing any infrastructure damages or anything?
No, sir, I don't think it, because it comes through and dries out pretty pretty quick. We're on it with the custodians and the staff. There's another pictures I have where we have sandbags in places. So there's work that needs to be done pretty much all the way around the school. However, the blacktop area, you see on the left side, that stoop and the areaway with the grate over it, those are attached to the slab of the building. The asphalt is probably 4.5 to 5 inches higher now than what those should be. And so that areaway is designed to dry the underneath of the building with airflow, but what it's turned into now is it's a drain for rainwater. So then the water's flowing underneath the building and keeping everything underneath the building damp and then causing other problems along the side of the building.
So nothing we had done before was helping this?
We tried to alleviate it, but we did not go
Deep enough.
is the only thing I can come up with. We didn't go deep enough and take enough material out. We tried to do it on the surface to save money, and it has not stopped the problem. So the issue that we're gonna try and fix is to dig down, considerably down, and kind of like what we did at Clearwater Elementary, go underneath, come back up with compacted base, and then put a new top on top of it. And then still leave us 6 or so inches of play in case it still continues to, because engineers will tell you it's supposed to saturate at some point. We haven't seen that yet. In the 12 years I've been here, it's always gone up, never down.
And there hasn't been any plumbing problems or anything like that?
No,
That's
sir, it's-
causing with the shifts or anything like that?
There's nothing that we can find that's a man-made thing. If there were springs or something in the ground, we don't see them. It just happens with the rain and the expandable soils there with the clay.
And Tommy, for that type of work, is that just an estimate? Do you, because usually when you bring,
I tried to make that a conservative estimate.
because usually when you bring engineers, the price will just rise, you know?
So this will not include an architect. We would be dealing directly with engineering, civil engineering consultants. CDC was the original on the job, so they have all the drawings. So we're going to recommend that we use them to redo all of the drainage around the side of the building. It's going to be bid out and only through an engineer. We won't have to include an architect in this project.
Right, and the next item is Resnick and Legacy. And we opened Resnick in 2016, so that's been 5 years. Since then, because of the plasticity in the soil as well. Originally, this site, we knew was gonna move or fluctuate between 5 and 6 inches up and down. Part of the damage that we see now is on the asphalt. As part of the project though, we went ahead and did a change order to mitigate the movement immediately outside of the building. So we went and cut 6 feet of select fill for all the flat work, but on the road work, since it's massive, we didn't bring that item. But as of right now, we're looking into repairing all the damaged areas or the largely damaged areas throughout Resnick and Legacy High School, which are in the bus loop of the life skills in Resnick to the front, the athletic building in the front of Legacy, also in the front of the entrance at Legacy. So all those items or all those numbers that you see here, those are major spots that we would come back and repair throughout.
And this is just caused by wear and tear of buses, cars and stuff like that.
Bus
It's nothing-
loads, traffic.
It's not more,
Yeah, where you're seeing it, you're gonna see it is where you have your buses coming in and turning, in a lot of high traffic areas. You'll see a lot of them.
And Brandon, by the way, who's in charge of that street that leads to going into, because it's horrible.
Which
Is it Watson or is it Verano Parkway? One of those is just,
yeah, Watson Road is, yeah,
This
so
one
that
here
belongs,
is bad.
that belongs to the city. And I know that they're gonna renovate from Somerset to our entrance, but past that, going out to Toyota, they're gonna put some money toward it to do a study, and then they're gonna have to go out for bond. Just probably like anybody else, they need the funds to do anything about it.
Last time I talked to them, because a lot of people that live along that road, we walk home, and especially, we've been calling for 4 years, they keep saying it's gonna be about $7 million just to fix that one little area. But it's gotten to the point where people along that road are starting to sue. And,
it's terrible.
I've gone through more tires
in the few years I've lived there, the most I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So see,
the other-
seeing-
Now that we're talking about that, that's one of the things with that road being that bad, I want to know about how that's been affecting our buses.
It does impact our buses, our buses, because they do a lot of high mileage anyway, so we have a kind of a replacement plan for our tires, and we buy a lot of tires to put on buses, because that's one thing you don't have to blow out on the bus. I would have to get down to see what the study is on those particular buses on that road, but I can say that I'm sure it's gonna impact them more than that, because we cannot not go down that road.
They want to bring about the growth out in that area, in our area, but without the basic, civil service.
I can tell you, Mr. Correa, we're as frustrated, I think, as everyone else. The unique part about that road is it turns to a county road at some point, right past our property. So they have a long-range plan. The city, they are putting, I believe, $1 million towards a study of that road. They want to do enhancements of sidewalks, lighting, et cetera, which is great. But I don't think we can wait 3 years, 4 years for something to start over there. I know the city council woman, alum of Southwest, she's very aware of it. Her folks are very aware of it. County Commissioner Clay Flores agrees 100%. It's a horrible road, but it's not ours, it belongs to the city. And so, yeah, we're trying to work with everyone. But I would just encourage everyone to keep, if there's a grievance process, to keep letting the city know, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so it's in a bad situation. Yeah, it's horrible.
Little country road, all the others run through there, and
Yes.
all big wheels.
So
Well, and 18-wheelers created a lot of that mess.
as
Yes.
far as we know, this section was actually bid out a couple of weeks ago and soon to be awarded. So that'll go from what will become a roundabout right in our intersection and off to Somerset. Again, the intent by engineers was to create a roundabout to discourage the Toyota traffic to go through there. The 18-wheeler traffic. So we'll see that.
Property right next to the school is, they're all building.
Right. Yeah, they're not gonna take the long route. So. But the next item is the concrete expansion joint sealant replacement, specifically around the athletic field or athletic fields. Right now, we're seeing some of the sealant now deteriorate, and we want to be proactive in this matter. The sooner we go and reseal it and repair those seals, the less water infiltration will go in, and we'll have less soil problems on the long run. So part of it is replacing close to 7,200 linear feet of joint seal throughout Legacy on the athletic compound. And then the other item is the cast-in building 800 canopy. There's a section here in yellow between what used to be the old band hall and some of the STEM rooms and corridor 200 that has been a problem since the, again, deterioration of sealant flashing. So part of that is when it rains, water just seeps through, creates problems in the lighting, as well as the students walking in to and from class. We have reached out to one of our vendors, Brazos, who has done our spray foam roofs, and they have brought up an idea of just creating a small layer of foam and sealant similar to what we're doing to seal that canopy and any water infiltration to it.
Kind of making a trough.
As you can see that,
It backs up, if you look at where he's standing on the picture, third row, where he's standing, there is a construction drawing where all the roofs come together, and that water isn't flowing the way it's supposed to anymore, and just backs up and causes major problems into the old band hall, into the bar rooms, into the facilities. Needs to be addressed.
all right.
Oh, and then the last thing, put on there. The last thing is, which I'll be bringing is, I've had Coach Wagner and new athletics director work with our architect because they have a firm, like an aquatics firm that basically is a consultant for us, and looking at what's actually in the project and what's not in the project, the bond funds to pay for. We wanted to make sure, we came multiple times to add more funds. We wanted to make sure that we had everything ready to go. But this would be purchasing all the equipment, that's the sporting equipment, the weights for the weight room, also purchasing some of the supplies so that we can start running and put chemicals in the pool once we get the pool turned over to us. And then a furniture for like the foyer, buying a desk for the receptionist. And so that'll be an item that, number 9. And so that's where we're at right now. This is year 1. There'll probably be some more stuff as we add different programs there, like water polo and other things that will come back later next year to add to that building. And so that'll be something that we'll be bringing to the board once again, because we want to make sure we get out in the market and buy all these things before we get opening up here, in late spring, early summer, and not have the material. The last thing, just to kind of wrap up, the last thing is we talked about remaining bond funds. We've been talking to subcommittee on possibilities of what we can do. What do we have out there that we have on our plan that we haven't done? Things that were actually on the last bond that we decided to leave off because of budgets. And right now we've priced 2 of these, surfing the softball field and the baseball fields. That's something that we've always talked about. We haven't moved on it. The softball fields, we got a price to turf both softball fields at both high schools 100%. It's right roughly at $1 million. And then the baseball fields, because they're the size of football fields, if you take the square footage of there's a couple of school districts that have done this. They've basically turfed the infield to the dugouts, which it still looks really nice. And the only thing the district has to take care of is the outfield. And so that's roughly $900,000. So like 1.9 to turf both fields, the softball, Southwest Legacy, Southwest High School, and then looking at Southwest High School's baseball and Southwest Legacy baseball field and doing the infield, which if you talk to baseball coaches, softball coaches, the biggest part of maintenance is the baselines and the home plate, the pitcher's mound, all the bases, and this would help with that. And it also deals with maintenance. We spend roughly $75,000 to $80,000 a year on maintaining those fields. And so for a maintenance perspective, that's what we were looking at. And so we'll share more and more with that. We're going to take some meeting we got as far as bids and discuss that if the board's interested in that. We had a request at Legacy, similar to at Southwest High School. They have the outdoor area behind CTE where they could work outdoors. At Legacy, the welding shop, he has a lot of materials outside that the kids work outside, but they have no coverage. So if it's rainy, it's really hot, they tend to stay out of there. So we're getting prices. It's kind of a preliminary. Right now, we have nowhere for our golf team to go. So we're looking at maybe using something and doing something at behind an auditorium when we're done with the auditorium. Maybe put some putting greens, maybe a simulator building, something small that they could go to a practice facility. And then we request that the ag barn, their ag has increased. They're not pens for the animals at the ag barn. So we have another barn in the back that's kind of just for vehicles. If you're redoing that, making pens out of that. And so we have a price of that. And so roughly we're about 2.7. Which is where we are, right? Where we are as far as funds coming back. And we're continuing to look at other projects and seeing funds come back and see as we go there. Yes, ma'am.
Brandon, with the ag thing, I know we visited those facilities last year and it had a lot of issues. I mean, there was a lot of things where there were opportunities for us to improve.
Right.
I'm wondering, I mean, investing $200,000 doesn't seem like a lot, especially if you consider that we're doing $2.5 million on softball and golf. Is that going to take, I mean, I would like for us to take those facilities to the same place our other facilities are, right?
We can definitely look at it. I think that's just a number, because this is a new development to us, so we could go look at maybe upgrading the current building.
They had a lot of needs. They do their shows outside, and when it's raining that day, it was not good weather. And that limits their ability to do a lot of things. I mean, we went inside the ag building. It needs, if we want to like kind of really look at it bigger picture, instead of patching up the holes, let's talk about maybe, remodeling, rethinking.
We have 2 options that we'll bring to the subcommittee is taking a look at the whole building and seeing what that would cost us. And because the 2 options that we would have, we kind of have an estimate of what we got coming back, but there's other things in bond funds that we can look at, so we may have more than we actually have, so to look towards items that are on this list. And then we have fund balance if we needed to really add more.
I would like for us to think bigger picture, because if we've got money to make improvements in facilities that we've already invested in quite a bit, in ag, I think it's been a little while since we've really, kind of invested in them, so let's,
We'll take a look at it. We'll
Okay.
bring it to subcommittee.
okay, thank
Give
you.
us some ideas on Thursday.
Okay.
All right. And that's, the last thing we have on your desk is a fund balance sheet that looks like this. And I just wanted to touch on this before because we did ask for fund balance from some of these projects, especially the fund balance area. And really, based on your request, we're going to go back and hopefully Thursday at subcommittee have an updated kind of like what we possibly look at. But what we're going to be asking the board to take a look at is, most of this is preliminary pricing. Most of it we haven't priced it out completely, but we would like to move forward on bidding all that stuff out, get bill pricing.
Yeah.
We will bring everything back to the board for approval. But we would like approval for us to say, this is our plan for this year, if you give us approval to move so that we can start, because we don't want to do a lot of work on bids and RPs and bringing vendors in, and then the board really didn't want to go that direction.
Right.
So that's kind of like what the thought about this is bring it to subcommittee, we'll clean it up, and then at the next board meeting, this will kind of be our capital improvement plan for 21,
Yeah.
22, get the board to approve it. So that gives us a green light to move forward. And if there's something that needs to be subtracted or added, or more, then we can always add to it. And at the same time, we bid something out, it comes in super
Too high.
expensive, and then we just don't do it. I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of the idea.
With all I want to say legislation that's changing with the bonds and stuff, does this have anything to where the remaining balance has to go back out to the public and ask them, well, this is what we got left, and we told you we're going to do all this with the bonds, with the bond that we just had, and we have money left. Do we have to go back out to the public and say, okay, now we have $2 million left?
No.
Do we have to do that, or is that something, because I heard some changes were coming about?
You don't have to for the current bond. But when you get into, and I haven't read the legislation, but I'm assuming that when you go out for bond your other projects, now that you separate into propositions, and one gets voted no, and you have extra funds in proposition A, I'm assuming there's a mechanism, and I haven't read that for yet, because I know we haven't gone out for bond, but currently under, we're pretty much grandfathered based on the bonds that have previously passed. But and I don't want to assume and say, but it seems like it almost makes sense that now they've been separated, that you can't just go and cut something out of your proposition that you passed. And do a proposition C that was an athletic facility. First of all, that's probably bad business anyways, because nobody's going to trust you to pass your bonds. But I don't want to say for sure, but I'd have to read up on it. I can't really truthfully answer it, but I know we're grandfathered with our current bonds on these extra things.
So I think it read that all the new ones have to be the highlighted ones, there wasn't one big bold number. Yeah, there's new statute language we have to use, and we have to use propositions. So I think that the rule of thumb that we've always used, and normally we don't have bond funds left over, in this case we do, is that we've achieved everything that the voters voted for and approved, and then the leftover funds that go to the project, that's for our youth and our students, and not use them for anything centralized. And so that's a rule of thumb we've always applied to it. It goes back to the students. But I do think there will be new expectations in the future bond, yes. First of all, I can do our hard passes.
Thank you. Okay, item C, update on the district strategic planning
Yes,
process.
sir. We have been in partnership with JG Consulting, James Guetta and Associates, and we have joining us virtually today Lonnie Liao, Amber Allens. They have done interviews with our trustees and our senior staff and a number of different focus groups and a number of students, I believe somewhere in the 3,000 range, community members getting information, and they're coming back with a presentation in December. But what we wanted to do was to show the board about the commonality of the feedback that they're getting and where it's hitting, and the starting point of creating goals in our district. And so what they're going to go through is what they are hearing, what they put together in the form of our goals. We expect to work with them now with the task force to to do some wordsmithing, maybe merging and other things. But this is a starting point, and this is kind of a checkpoint for our trustees today, and you'll get more information behind each one of these goals as we get into our December brown bag as well. So I'd like to turn it over to Lonnie Liao and Amber Lenz, and let you guys take it from here.
Yes, good afternoon to the esteemed SWISD board on behalf of JG Consulting and Ms. Ellens, and we are thankful. Of course, our preference is to be there face to face with you. We're sorry that we couldn't be there. We both had some things in our schedule, but we do look forward to December the 7th, being there in person with you. And I just want to do a sound check. Is my sound coming through okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, we, as was mentioned, and Amber, feel free to interject anytime. As was mentioned, we have thoroughly benefited from the stakeholder meetings that we've had with different groups, with the administrative team, with school board members, and it has really given us a deep insight into the great things going on in SWISD. And so we have a one-pager that I don't know if Dr. Verstaff do the members have copies of that? Okay.
Yes. Everyone has a copy, yes.
Okay, good. We wanted to walk through that briefly and just hit on some of the high points. And I wanted to start off by saying this is a direct result of the collaboration that we had during our stakeholder meetings. And so we're going to walk through it very briefly. And starting off with that vision statement that Southwest ISD will build on the strengths of its community to create world-class schools where kids meet their highest potential. And just jumping right into goal 1, which says that Southwest ISD will prioritize teaching and learning to ensure the highest quality instruction for each student's success. And we embrace the fact that there is a commitment to the growth mindset throughout Southwest ISD. And this is critical as we strive to grow as a district and work strategically. And keep in mind that we will be talking about some more measurable outcomes that will be much more specific when we get to the strategic planning portion. But on goal 2, Southwest ISD will commit to attracting and retaining highly effective educators, as well as developing and supporting their growth. Again, going back to that growth mindset, that's so critical. And there are some great things that are in place, but as Southwest ISD is going through a tremendous amount of growth, we don't want to lose some of those elements of the small town atmosphere, but at the same time, we do realize there's some things that we will be changing and launching into. And then I want to segue into goal 3, which says that Southwest ISD will increase the effectiveness of communication with, again, all the stakeholders, the students, the parents, the staff members, the community, and in meeting their educational needs. And it's so critical, as you know, and hearing from the board, that everyone is welcome to the table of education, and that collaboration is critical for us, and we must listen. I know at the last board meeting that we attended in September, there was some good dialogue about making sure that we had all the key stakeholders involved, and that's critical. And we really do believe that that's not just lip service, that's genuine and real. And finally, goal 4, Southwest ISD will foster and build partnerships that support the development of college career and workforce ready students. It's so impressive to see what Southwest ISD has already, some of the partnerships already taking place with Amazon and some of the universities, UTSA, some of the community colleges. And we really, after speaking with the different stakeholders, that's something that we want to really continue to build upon. And so that's a goal that we will be delving into with a lot more specificity also. Those collaborative partnerships are so vital. And I have to tell you, working in Clear Creek ISD as a principal for 24 years, we had NASA in our backyard and we capitalized on that. And it was just so powerful to have what y'all have there. And we really must tap into that. And so also at the very end, we put better together. We are Southwest ISD, and Southwest ISD is moving in a great direction. We are with you on a quest for the best. And Ms. Alens and I wanted to ask you as a school board today, are these goals in line with what you are thinking? And if they are, that's great. We're going to keep moving in that direction. If they're not, we welcome your input so that we can take it back to the team as we prepare for that December 7th meeting, as we present the strategic plan. And Ms. Ellens, did you want to interject anything?
I would like to jump in just a minute and again, thank you for accommodating this virtual meeting. I look very much forward to when we will be able to see you in person. And that was sort of on our end. I know James was hoping to be with you today and he had some family emergency. So really appreciate y'all accommodating us. I did want to just kind of back up to just a tiny bit and remind you all, I know you are very familiar with the current strategic plan you have today. And it is, it's been a really important tool for us in this process as well. And as Lonnie mentioned, we don't want to lose that as we're moving forward. And we want to make sure that you are understanding how we see the input that we got from your community, that we take all of that and just add it to kind of what you've been doing so far. And one of the things that really stood out in all of our conversations that I just really want to say out loud is you have such an incredibly supportive community in Southwest ISD that isn't really common out there. So I don't know how much you know about the rest of the state or the country, but I think I want to say it out loud, how family oriented and homegrown and just real community focus you already have in your district, which is why we took that vision statement in the direction that we took it. And I hope that resonates with y'all as much as it did with us when we were talking to each of you, as well as to your teachers and your community members. The other thing I did want to just correct, I think, Lonnie, you read an old version. The vision statement should read, Southwest ISD will build on the strengths of its community to create world-class schools where youth meet their highest potential. And you can take that with any direction you'd like to take it. But so I would like to say we're at that point that we have consolidated some of your current goals into these 4 goals. It makes it a little more a little easier for your administration to focus on a smaller number. And but we don't want to lose any of those things you've been doing well. So we should open it up for some comments and questions.
Yes, I'd like to begin. Sylvester, one of the board members here. I really like the goals. I just am wondering, I've been thinking out loud now, can we interject the word or some form of the word continue into these goals? Because to me, it's sounding like these goals are stuff that we're not doing. For example, just to throw out the first one, Southwest ISD will continue to prioritize teaching and learning. It just sounds like some of these are new and we're not currently doing, but I think all 4 are important for us to build on and continue doing. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like I said, I'm thinking out loud.
Absolutely, I concur with that 100%.
I don't know how the rest of the board members feel or are thinking. Yeah.
Makes sense.
We can, if the board's in agreement with that, we can definitely add that. And we were not inferring that wasn't happening.
No, I totally understand.
It needs to be in print. It needs to be in print.
Totally understand.
I agree, yeah.
But to somebody moving into Southwest,
yes,
like you said, our community is strong. We've been here for a while. you know, but somebody moving in, reading this, oh, you know, I wonder what they were doing before, you know?
That's a great.
And we
point.
have a lot of people moving into our district now,
Yes,
you
and,
know,
and,
so.
and, and I have to tell you, it's like one story after another, because I'm just gonna share real quick, when I went to the TASB conference, we had lunch with some of y'all, and what a blessing that was to speak with the assistant superintendent and the superintendent and one of you school board members that have all gone through the system. I believe Dr. V, one of your old high school opponents, you played against, we had lunch together. That was, and it does speak highly of the district, and it's not as common as you may think. And so that cohesiveness is critical. And so we're going to do some great things as a team. I just wanted to interject that also. And yes, we will add that continue in there. I'm sorry.
On my note, I would like to, like if he's going on wording, I would like to integrate a growth and service and commitment. Those are our three things that we put on our shield. Basically, I see some of it, we're supporting the growth, but we're ready to support. Yeah, and to support the growth, I want to make sure that it's community big, like we're an expanded community, so we're always going to be growing as an infrastructure of an educational system.
Yes.
Do you see a specific goal where you'd like to see those words? Or are you thinking just more in the general, in the tagline or the vision?
Well, I just put a commitment to probably we're a commitment to increasing the effectiveness of the communication, growing our communication with our community, and making sure that everybody and inclusion is a big word. But I guess more number 3, just to make sure.
Goal 3, that's what I was looking at. Goal 3. Okay. Yes. And I think too, there's going to be so much more specificity when we get to the actual strategic plan too, that's going to help even further crystallize some of these points, these goals. Are there any other questions or input?
Thank you.
We're going to
And
be
we
able
look
to.
forward to meeting you guys live too.
Yeah, we can't wait. We're excited for December 7th. So again, keep on doing great things. I did want to start off by saying thank you for the service, for those of you who have served our country. We are blessed in so many ways. We wouldn't have the freedoms without your help and your support. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're
welcome.
That's impressive, and it just set the tone for a meeting that was just very much appreciated. So thank you for your service.
Yes.
Well, thank you both for coming on virtually today, and you're right, this is kind of a starting point, and we really coalesced a lot of information from hundreds of people to get this where we are today. We really look forward to really kind of getting into this further on December 7th, and to me, strategic planning it's like filling a bucket with drips, and so we're dripping and dripping and dripping, and at one point it gets full, and we have this final product at the end. So thank you guys for everything and for your stewardship in this process.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you all for your, I would like, you're correct. We talked with almost 1,000 people through this process. So if anybody asks you, there are a lot of voices.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And
Thank you guys so
thank you
much.
again. And y'all have a wonderful afternoon.
Bye.
You too.
Y'all too.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Results. Yeah. Like basically the data.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the board knows, we also had a really good conversation with senior staff, and there's some aspects where we're going through training, and we definitely want to include equity and equitable outcomes, and we've also had the same conversation. The idea is we want to bring information in parts and then build it over time, but it's going to be, I think, a really great plan, and JG Consulting folks have just been phenomenal folks to work with, too.
Okay.
And so that concludes that, unless there's any questions that I can try to answer or someone on senior staff?
Okay, moving on to item D, update on joint elections. Do we have any new information?
I have some information that I would like to share with the board. First of all, though, I had a question with regards to this agenda item at our last meeting. It was tabled and there was, no reason was given for tabling that. Do we have some information with regards to that?
First of all, there needs to be no information on tabling. If somebody on the board makes a motion to table an item and somebody seconds it, it goes directly to voting, and then it's voted on, and that's what happened, and it was tabled. Whether that person needed more information or was not comfortable at voting at that time, then that may be the reason.
So
But no.
there was no reason for
no,
tabling the item
no.
then?
I'm sure there was, but none has to be given publicly.
But would you like to share that with us?
I don't have one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So nobody shared it with you?
No.
Okay. So I wanted to share a little bit of information with regards to the joint elections. When we run joint elections with Lytle, basically, we took a deep dive into the data from the voter list for the May 2021 election. And I just wanted to share some numbers with y'all that would, I believe, help in making the decisions with regarding who to run joint elections with. So in looking at the data, we had 1,321 City of San Antonio voters that voted in the City of San Antonio election. We had 383 City of San Antonio voters that voted in the Southwest ISD election. So if you add these two numbers together, there were a total of 1,704 Southwest ISD voters that voted in the May 2021 election. From this 1,704 voters, 284 voters voted in both. Okay? So that left us with a total number of 1,136 City of San Antonio voters that did not go to the two election sites in order to vote. So all these voters would potentially have voted in the Southwest ISD election for board trustee. 1,136 of them. They did not get the opportunity to do that because we ran our election with the city of Lytle instead of Bear County.
You can't say that for sure, because there was people that showed up to McAuliffe and voted just for the city stuff and didn't even show up to vote for the school board stuff.
Right, it was vice versa, right? So some,
No, but you're saying that the people who need to go only showed up to one to vote for a school board, but not, that doesn't, that's flawed.
it's not, Daniel. So a total of 1,700 voters could have voted for both.
Yeah, if it was on one ballot, it would have been perceivable that they would be able to vote for
It was
our
on the
election.
same ballot, they had the opportunity to vote. But by creating two locations, two lines, and two ballots, we're basically creating a barrier for all the City of San Antonio voters. So that when they go to the City of San Antonio elections, they expect, all the elections to be running together, because that's what happens in the rest of Bear County. All the school districts run their elections with Bear County. So then all of the elections are on the same ballot, on one ballot. We run it separately. We run it separately, so when we do that, we had a total of 1,700 City of San Antonio voters, okay, that voted some voted in the City of San Antonio election and some voted in the Southwest ISD election. Of those, 284 of them went to both separate sites, right? But then that left us with a total of 1,136 did not have that opportunity, right? Because they had to go to 2 sites instead of 1. So these are all City of San Antonio voters. All the people that live in the City of San Antonio in our community had to access a second site in order to go vote. So we don't advertise that. We don't, that there's nowhere that they can even get that information, right? So they get most of their voting information from Bexar County, from the elections office, right? So, but we don't provide any information with regard, it's on our website and that's it. A lot of these voters, they think that they're voting for everything when they go vote. They don't even realize that the school elections are being run separately and at different sites, at separate sites. So we are effectively creating a barrier to their ability to vote, that only the City of San Antonio voter
I will say.
gets affected or
This is
impacted.
the first time I've ran and being elected,
Mhm.
but I always knew, just being a person who lived in the district, I always knew that where I needed to go vote for the school board. And I always knew that, voting for a city was separate. And
Are you a
to
county
me,
or a City of San Antonio?
well, now that where we live, just got adopted, it was about 3 years ago, that got taken over by City of San Antonio, so City of San Antonio, or 4 years ago. But I always knew that, there was certain sites that it came to go for school board, and I always liked that because it made sure that, we were one of the few of the south side of San Antonio school districts or school boards that hasn't had issues with
Okay,
people
Daniel.
being
So-
voted on that were voted on because they were 1 or 2 or 3 on the list and they needed that many people. And somebody just showed up to vote and just said, I'm just going to mark the first 3 off.
So
There was
you're-
people who actually cared about the school boards that came to Southwest to vote for those certain members, or people they trusted in for the school board.
That's a good
It's worked
point.
For years.
Mhm.
So basically what you're
Yeah,
saying,
and-
that it's okay to create 2 different systems for 2 different voters, that
It's nothing
some
that
of
we
our
haven't
some
done in
of
the
our voters
past.
are having to go to 2 sites and other of our voters only have to go to 1 site.
Yeah, but growth is coming to play in this situation now, where the growth is, like he said, he just got taken over by the city, and we represent everybody as a school board. And when we represent everybody as a school board, we should be wanting that our city people to vote. There is no
To
reason.
participate.
Participate, to vote. We need, every vote should be counted. When we go to when we do our bonds, we have done our bonds through the city, through the county. But why is it okay to do it with the county and not and then we want to run our board elections, we're not going to do it with the county? We got to look at it as a whole. As a whole thing, we do it. I'm looking at it as a whole, and I say, well, sometimes we're changing. The growth is happening. We need to just go with, we're the only school district, Somerset even has it with the county. So why are we the only school district in San Antonio? We got a city outside right next to us that's doing it with the county, and we're the only school districts not.
The definition of voter suppression is a strategy used to influence the outcome of an election by discouraging or preventing specific groups of people from voting. When we vote to go with the city of Lytle for joint elections, we are effectively creating a barrier for the city of San Antonio voters by making them go to 2 different locations, stand in 2 separate lines, and vote on 2 separate ballots.
In your
We
opinion?
do not create that for the county voter. We are only creating that for the city of San Antonio voter. So that is the exact definition of voter suppression.
If we're committed to growth, service, and results, we're going to get the best results going with the county. If we're committed to service, the best service is with the county. If we're committed to a commitment, then we should be committed to everybody in our district, including the city people.
I don't think we should be voting on anything else to get more data.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm going to call to order and cease debate. This is an item of information, not an item of debate. Okay, and I would like to make clear also that all statements made by board members at this time during this item of information have been personal opinions, okay? Again, numbers were used today. I do not know where those numbers came from. When an item of information is presented, if you're going to use data, that data should be allowed for each board member to study and to look at and to see where it came from. That was not done today, okay? So at this time, this item is now closed, and we will better prepare for the next
I would
time
like
it's
to,
presented.
I would like to just respond to that. I tried to get this information through proper channels, through the district. And I was told that, they were not readily available, or they were not accessible, or, so I did get these numbers, and I will be happy to share them with whoever wants to verify them from the voter lists that were provided by the elections office for Bexar County.
Okay. Okay. Lord, do you have any comments to make?
I think, I want to thank the trustees for coming in and being, at this, workshop. And I want to thank everyone who presented today. I think everyone brought a lot of really great information at your dice. You can see there's a lot of events, coming up. November's pretty, I don't want to go through every one of you because I can keep you here another 30 minutes, but I'm just trying to read the titles of all these. But thank you, for putting these together and making it available to you guys. So my one more thing is giving you these 24 more things, on your patient.
That's a lot of events this month.
Well, that's just this week.
I know it's on the agenda, delete the event that we have any personnel item or a property item that, comes to fruition, within the posting time.
Thank you. Anyone else have one more thing? Yeah.
This Thursday?
Shout out to all the vets.
Try to do that at the onset of the meeting. And, Mr. Campos, sorry.
Mr. Campos will be, or someone from the communications office will be sending you guys a virtual schedule of all the Veteran Day celebrations that will be happening at various campuses. And so I know a lot of our campuses do a phenomenal job. And so you have one in front of you from Medio Creek, but there's other ones, and we'll get that together and get it out as soon as possible.
And happy belated birthday, Danny.
No, I'm not Pedro.
And I'm looking right at you,
It's
Pete.
the beard, we have the.
But it already happened, right?
Yes, sir.
So happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Peter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, and this meeting is now closed at 1:11.